What's up, YA? Come on, you excited to be in the house? Man, I'm excited that you guys are here in the house. How many of you guys slipped on ice this morning? Anybody slip on ice? Guys, I got to be honest with you. I bit it hard. As soon as I walked out of my house, I locked the door and I turned around and I just put my foot on the sidewalk, and then all of a sudden it just turned into a dance between me and God. It was just like my feet were going everywhere. I'm trying to grab on this stuff. I had like a book bag, and I had like stuff in my hand. And so like I had a bottle of cologne with me, and it's like it's being sprayed all over the place because I'm trying to like hold on to it. And like I slammed my elbow into the cement. My finger got ripped up. I even broke a nail. I know, oh my gosh. So I'm in pain, guys. I'm in serious pain right now. So, man, it was tough, but hopefully that doesn't happen again. Hopefully nobody fell besides myself. But anyway, guys, I'm excited about tonight. As some of you guys know, we've been in a collection of conversations it's called Dating with Purpose, a biblical approach to relationships. How many of you guys have found this very helpful to you? Okay, good. Because tonight is going to be extremely practical, okay? Tonight I want to encourage you, if you're a person who takes notes, or maybe like you've never done it before, I want to encourage you to take notes tonight, because this is going to be a kind of a note-filled night. In fact, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish this message, because I have a ton of stuff that I'm going to walk through us tonight when it comes to dating, okay? And so a couple of weeks ago, we began to talk about really what singleness is, and that singleness is a gift from God. It's not something to run away from. It's not something that you repel, but it's something that you embrace because there's purpose attached to it. Okay, how many of you guys believe that? How many of you guys know that your singleness is not a curse? The fact that you're in a state of being single, that's not a curse that God is giving you. There's no receipt that comes with that, so you can return that back, right? You are single on purpose, and the purpose behind that is that so you can give yourself over to the things of God, okay? That's why you're single. That's why you're in this season of singleness, so that you can give yourself over to the things of God. So in other words, like, you need to get more plugged into your church. You need to get plugged into a small group. We have small groups here in young adults. Like, it's a good idea to get plugged in to a small group so you can be a part of community. The thing that you just show up to YA because it's a big event, you need to be a part of something much smaller so you can build community. It's important that you build community with other believers, and we're going to talk about that in the next few weeks of what it looks like to be a part of a community of God, because you are not designed to do life by yourself. You're not designed to do life alone. And so last week, my friend Pastor Jovan, who shared about dealing with lust in your life. And so hopefully that was really challenging and encouraging to you. And tonight we're going to talk about something that I hope is going to be challenging to you. Tonight we're going to talk about red flags and green lights, choosing your person wisely. Like choosing the right person wisely. This is going to be so practical and so helpful to you. If you are a Christ follower, if you said yes to Jesus and you've allowed Jesus to become the leader and forgiver of your life, and you've said from that point on, Jesus, I want what you want for me, then at this point you're saying, I choose to submit my life to Christ, therefore I want the things of Christ in my life. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you're a person who's exploring the faith, I just want to encourage you, hey, this message is for you too, But maybe this will be helpful to you as you navigate through relationships in your life. You know what relationships have looked like in your own personal life. You may have had ups and downs when it comes to it, but this message will be extremely practical for you. So I want you to make sure you take out some notes. If you have a notepad, or maybe pull out your phone and jot down some notes, I want to encourage you to do that. Just a little sidebar here. This has nothing to do with my message. Someone that came up to me a little bit before the service started and handed me a brand new Bible. And he said, Mike, he goes, I have an extra Bible here that I don't need, but I want to donate it to young adults. And he said, hey, can you just make an announcement? If there's anybody who needs a Bible who doesn't have one, this is for you. So if you don't have a Bible of your own and you're like, hey, I'd really love a Bible, a brand new Bible, you're like, hey, I don't own one, or I need a new one in my life. If that's you, this is for you. If you want it, you can come up right now and grab it. If that's not you and you're too embarrassed, then I'll give it to you after service. Anybody? Going once? You? You want it? You want it? There you go. Oh, we have more on the side too. So if you guys need a Bible, by the way, and you don't have one, we actually have more Bibles. And so we have them off to the side here, and we are more than happy to give you one. So thanks so much, guys. How many of you guys know that dating is more than just attraction and chemistry? It's more than just attraction and chemistry. It's about choosing someone whose life, check this out, reflects Christ. It's about choosing someone whose life imitates Christ, whose life looks like Christ. It's about someone who is in hot pursuit after Jesus Christ. Now again, this is for the believer. If you're a person who is a Christ follower, you should not be pursuing somebody who's not a Christ follower. That should not be in your life. That should be in your path. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 says this. It reminds us of this. It says, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. The writer of Proverbs says, you guard your heart. It doesn't say anybody else is going to guard your heart. It doesn't say mom and dad is going to guard your heart. It says you guard your heart. You have to be the police person of your life, guarding your own heart. You have to protect what goes into your life, because what goes into your life, the writer of Proverbs says, comes out of your life. Guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Listen, who you date will impact 3 areas of your life. Number 1, it will influence your faith, it will influence your future, and it will influence your purpose. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat across from people that chose the wrong partner. And they now live with the regret, knowing that they're stuck in a relationship because they say, I'm committed to this, which, by the way, in marriage, there's commitment to it. He says, I'm committed to this relationship, and I'm willing to work it through, but it's been hard, Mike. It's been extremely hard because I'm not able to do the things I want to do. I have a very good friend who I've known for about 25 years. We went to Bible college together, and he was going to go into children's ministry, and he had a real heart for children's ministry, and he ended up dating a girl that I actually told him, I said, hey, this isn't a person you should pursue. In fact, there were several other people that told him, do not pursue this person. He ignored it, ended up getting engaged, married the girl, and within a year and a half while we were in Bible college, she ended up having an affair on him, cheated on him, broke his heart, completely broke his heart, and fell off the deep end, walked away from Christ for about 5 years. And for about 5 years we would talk, and he was angry, and he was cold towards God. And I would just talk to him for 5 years, just kept on pursuing a relationship with him. Ultimately, he ended up marrying another girl, was married to her for 3 months. She did the same thing, divorced him, fell into a deeper hole. After another 5 years of him battling with this, he came to faith. He came back around and found a girl that loved Jesus. But he had to start all over again. Can I just tell you that who you pick matters? It influences your faith, it influences your future, and it influences your purpose in life. Finding the right person matters. You see, you need wisdom. You need guidance when it comes to areas like this. We need wisdom to recognize when there are red flags in potential relationships. And red flags just simply means warning signs that we should be cautious of. And then we should pay attention that there are moments when there are green lights for us to go ahead and begin to pursue. Those are green lights represent healthy traits, healthy alignments with God. And so I want to talk a little bit about red flags tonight. I'm going to talk about green lights as well, but red flags. I want you to write this down if you're taking notes. Again, red flags means warning signs to watch out for. Here's the first thing you need to watch out for: that he or she lacks a genuine relationship with God. He or she lacks a genuine relationship with God. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, it says, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers." In other words, if you're familiar with this, the term yoke simply means an old farming term that it was a machinery that was put over the heads of ox, and it would allow them to line up together to move in the same direction together. It's the idea that when you line yourself up with someone, you should be heading in the same direction. You should be agreeing in the same area when it comes to philosophically, when it comes to theologically, when it comes to your relationship with God. You guys should be lined up together. This also not just includes a person you date, it also should include your friendships as well. This actually influences every area of your life. We should be equally yoked. We should have the same kind of desires, the same kinds of wants, the same kinds of purpose in life. If their faith is not a priority, it makes it difficult to build a Christ-centered relationship. The person you date, the person that you are pursuing, their relationship with God should be a priority for them. It should be the number one thing on their list. If God is not a priority in their life, I'm going to tell you right now, walk away. Walk away from that. I'm trying. Walk away from that relationship with that person. That person should have God first in their life. Jesus should be number one. A true relationship with God isn't just about attending church. It's not about you coming to church. We have a lot of young adults that show up to church here. Ladies, can I just tell you something? Not every guy that walks into church is somebody you should pursue. Listen, just because they're in the house doesn't mean that they're a Christ follower. Gentlemen, I'm going to say the same thing. Just because there's more girls in here than there are guys doesn't mean that every girl is one that you should pursue. Ladies, just because a guy looks cute doesn't mean that you should pursue them. That should not be the filter in which you view people. That should not be the judge in which you determine to pursue someone just because of their looks. Your first priority should be one that says, do they love Jesus? Is Jesus the number one person in their life? Do you have to try and get in the way of them in Christ? Listen, Christ should be the first priority of their life. And again, just because people come to church doesn't mean that every person is a believer. Hey, but listen, here's the thing, and this is not a bash on anybody in the room. I understand that we're all at different levels in our relationship with God. I get that. That makes sense to me. But here's the deal. Listen, if you want someone who's going to be your future, if you want someone that you want to raise your children with, then you need to start thinking way ahead of time. You need to start thinking way further down the road. Can this person be a father that can nourish our children into a relationship with God? You need to begin asking those questions. You need to begin wrestling through those things. The Bible says this in Matthew chapter 7, verse 16, by their fruits you will recognize them. You want to recognize who is a Christ follower. Pay attention to what they're producing. Pay attention to how they interact. You see, actions speak louder than words. What's inside will always come out. The way they live tells who they really are. Character isn't claimed, it's proven. You can't fake fruit. You need to pay attention to what's going on in their life. A person will show you who they really are within a short period of time. Don't just jump into a relationship. Take time. Slow down. Don't let your emotions get in the way of your pursuit of somebody. Take time to get to know that person. Ask questions about their relationship with God. Ladies, gentlemen, when you go to the grocery store to buy fruit, whether it's oranges or apples or bananas, you would never go to the area where they have rotten fruit and pick from that pile. Why would you do it in your dating relationship? Why would you do it with the people that you choose, that you go after people that are rotting or that are spoiled? You want to pick ripe, prime fruit. So weird describing people that way. But that's what you want to pick. Gentlemen, pay attention to how the girl you're interested in treats her father. Does she respect him? Does she honor her father? In other words, does she talk back disrespectfully to him? Does she call him names behind his back? Because in the future, this is how she'll treat you. Gentlemen or ladies, how does he treat his mother? Pay attention to how that person treats their mom. Because how he treats her will be how he'll eventually treat you. Does he take moments to listen to her? Does he help around the house? Is he lazy? Is he a person that just sits around and plays video games all day and has to be told what to do, that he's a grown man, but he's a little boy at the same time? Ladies, pay attention. Gentlemen, this is time for us to step up. You've heard me say this before. This is not a bash on anybody in here. But Paul talks about this. He says, when I was a child, I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, or another way of saying it is when I became an adult, or another way of saying it is when I matured, I put away childish behavior. I did that because I recognized that there was an area of my own life that was immature, and so I had to put those things away. And so there has got to be a time in your life where you have to decide, I need to grow up. I need to stop acting like this. I need to be a mature man. I need to be a mature woman. I need to stop making childish decisions and making and doing childish behavior. That I need to grow up. Let me just address some green lights here. Number one, they have to love God and pursue Him daily. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. You see, a solid relationship starts with two people pursuing God above all else. Let me say that again. A solid relationship starts with two people pursuing God above all else. Did you hear what I said? I said this. I said two people pursuing God. Two people pursuing God. Two people pursuing God. It's two people, not one person. It's two people. Let me tell you what I mean by that. In other words, God doesn't see you as one person in a dating relationship. Unless you're married, He sees you as one person. If you're a married person in the room today, God sees you as one, not two, but one. How do we know this? Genesis chapter 2, verse 24 says this. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife. That word united simply means that they consummated the relationship. He says he is united with his wife and they become one flesh. Jesus agrees with this statement and echoes it in Matthew chapter 19, verse 5 through 6. And he says this, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Verse 6, so they are no longer two, but one. Paul agrees with the writings of Genesis and also agrees with Jesus, and he echoes the same thing in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 31. And he says, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. Let me ask a question. How many of you are married in the room right now? Anybody married? Yeah, we have a couple of few married people in the room. The Bible says that you are one. You are one flesh. You are one person, right? He sees you as one. How many single people do we have in the room, in the house? Come on. Come on, let's go. Match.com, eHarmony. There's tons of single people in the room. Can I just ask you, how does God see you? As a single person, as an individual. But if you're dating, how does God see you? How does God see you? As two people, two individual people. He does not see you, look up here for a moment, don't miss this. He does not see you as one person. He sees you as two individuals. He sees you as two people. I'm going to say something to you, to those of you that are in a dating relationship that are Christians. I'm going to say something to you that may rub you the wrong way. But I want to encourage you in this. I see this happening in dating relationships among Christians all the time. And I get what you're trying to do, and I respect this. But I think this is an unhealthy move. That I will see Christian dating couples start doing their devotions together. This is kind of a dangerous thing to do. And let me tell you why it's dangerous to do. Because Your job in the dating relationship, the whole dating process, is to get to know the other person. Your responsibility is not to do what married people do. Your job is to get to know the other person, and for you to deepen your own personal life with God and you alone with God. You should have a separate devotional time than the person that you're dating. She should have her own devotional time with God, and you should have your own personal time with God. Those two should not cross paths. Listen, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't pray for that person, but what I'm saying is that you should not do your devotions together with that person. Here's the reason why, and I see this so often among Christian couples that are dating, that sometimes when they break up, what happens is they've so associated their relationship with God with the other person that when they break up, their love for God gets destroyed, because what happened was they thought that they were one person connecting with God, and so when that person walks out of their life, it disrupts their relationship with God, and it ends up hurting them. You should wait to do your devotions with that person you're dating until you're engaged or until you're married. And if you're married, I want to encourage you to do your devotions with your spouse, and also find time to have a personal time with God. That is so vital, and that's so important as you are moving forward in a relationship. You see, marriage unites, dating prepares. Grow together, but seek God alone. Marriage unites, dating prepares. Grow together, but seek God alone. Here's the second thing. The second thing is dishonesty and deception is a red flag. Dishonesty and deception. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 22 says, "The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy." If the person is consistently lying, they're hiding things, they're manipulating the truth, that's a major red flag. If the person that you're in relationship with lies often, or it has a habit of lying, or has a habit of manipulating, you know what manipulation looks like. You know what manipulation feels like. If that is consistent, or you see him or her doing that to other people, you better realize that that's probably happening to you too. I want to encourage you to walk away from that. You see, trust is foundation of any strong relationship. Trust is important. Let me give you some green lights for this. That person would respect you and honor your boundaries. That person should respect you and honor your boundaries. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 says this: "Love is patient and love is kind." You see, a godly partner won't pursue you into compromising your values. They will never put you in a position to compromise your relationship with God. If a person is doing that, can I just tell you, run from that relationship. Don't stay in that relationship, because it will destroy you. I've mentioned this a couple of times whenever we've talked about relationship messages, but I dated this girl once, and the very first time when we first made the commitment, and we said, hey, we're exclusive here and all this, we were in Seattle, Washington, walking on the Puget Sound, looking at the ocean. It was very romantic. I was very cool. And we were walking together, and I'm kind of holding her hand, and we're walking down, and I just said, hey, I like you, and girl, I know you like me, and I could sense. I was like, hey, I can sense the vibe, And so she said, I feel it, and I'm like, I know you do, and so And so I just, this is what I said to her. I said, hey, listen, her name is Stephanie. I said, hey, Steph, I said, here's the thing. I like you a lot. I said, but here's my commitment to you. I just said, I commit that I will never put you in a position to compromise your relationship with God. Just plain and simple. Now, here's the thing. That doesn't make me better than anybody else in the room. What that did was that set a tone, that set a standard for both her and I. That we put it right on the shelf there and we said, hey, this is going to be our standard. I'm never going to put you in a position that you're going to compromise your relationship with God. And that's the standard we're going to live by. And we dated, we ended up breaking up, and that's a whole other story. But I will say this, that never once did I ever put her in a position that compromised her relationship with the Lord. That was my commitment. You see, gentlemen, you need to set a high standard. The Bible tells us that you are the spiritual leader you're going to be the spiritual leader of your marriage. Therefore, you are going to be the spiritual leader of the relationship that you're in. Gentlemen, I want to challenge you to hold high standards, to live above reproach. In other words, to live in a way that says, I'm going to honor God, I'm going to honor me, and I'm going to especially honor her. I'm going to do my best to guard her heart. I'm never going to put her in a position where she's going to compromise her relationship with God. I'm never going to manipulate her. I'm never going to seduce her so that she can accomplish something that is for me. You have high standards, men. Think about what you do. Think about where you're at. Think about how you're living your life. Think about the relationships that you have. Where have you compromised? What do you need to change in your life? God is calling you, gentlemen, to higher standards. God is calling you, guys, to be better. Set the tone in the relationship. God is calling us to holy living. God is calling us to be people that live above reproach. You see, a person who is that honors you and won't cross the boundaries is a person that encourages purity and doesn't tempt you to sin. So can I just encourage you, one of the things I see, and this is kind of weird, it's one thing to sit out there, it's another thing to stand up here and to look at all you guys, because I see everything that's going on in the room, which I don't think some of you guys think that you guys are kind of like hiding, the lights are dim and all that stuff. I can actually see everybody in the room. And so sometimes, it was one time, I'm speaking in this room, and I'm watching a couple like over here, like making out like freshmen. And they were just like, they were in their own zone. They were kind of like, I'm speaking, I'm just like, well, yeah, and so God, I'm like, I felt like I needed to give them a moment. Can I just tell you, guys, that sometimes it's really weird watching a dating couple snuggle up inside the house of God. Come on, if it's weird for me, it's going to be weird for the people around you. Listen, there is something about where you're just kind of like snuggling up and you're getting a little frisky and all that in the house of God. Listen, this is not, can I just tell you this? This is not the place to be intimate with your dating partner. This is the place to be intimate with God. Can I just tell you something too? That sometimes, and I see this often in couples, but sometimes what will happen is when you find yourself in an environment like this and you're so happy that your significant other loves Jesus, and that's great, and I'm excited for you, and they love Jesus, that's great. But here's the thing. Sometimes when your significant other is a person who loves the Lord, and you think like, oh man, I put my arm around them, where like person's leaning on your shoulder, and you're just worshiping God, and that person's snuggling up, and all that stuff, and you feel like you just feel content, right? You just feel really happy. Here's the problem with something like that. Most of the time, people will mix up the feelings of romance with the presence of God, and you will think that what you're experiencing is the presence of God, but you're just feeling horny. Come on. Sometimes you got to tell the truth and shame the devil. Come on. Tell the truth and shame the devil. And so sometimes, guys, we can mix up the presence of God with the feelings of romance. And so God, listen, and again, this is God. God's looking at you and he's saying, I'm seeing two individuals. I'm not seeing one person. I'm seeing two individuals. And if you're sharing the worship with this person, you're saying, oh man, we're so intimate. We're so close to each other. And it's us worshiping God. No, it's not us worshiping God. It's individuals worshiping God. And God says, I will not share my glory with people. I won't. I won't do it. And so God says, listen, you worship on your own. Let her worship on your own. You guys can hug and, give each other snuggies and whatever it is. Like, respect each other. But at the same time, love the Lord in his house. Respect the Lord's house. Honor God's house. Honor his presence. Honor the environment that you're in. Does this make sense to people? Am I making sense? Where am I? So we respect other people's boundaries. Listen, don't mistake the emotions of romance for the presence of God. Just want to remind you of that. Here's the third thing. The other red flag that we look at is the lack of emotional and spiritual maturity in people. The lack of emotional and spiritual maturity. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 11 says this, fools give full vent to their rage. In other words, they give themselves over to anger. Fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end. Immaturity shows up in how we handle conflict, or how we handle stress, or how we handle responsibility. Can I just tell you that, ladies, gentlemen, you want to pay attention to how the person that you're interested in handles conflict. How do they handle tension in their life? Gentlemen, are you a person that when you get angry, that immediately you want to punch a wall? That immediately you want to start belittling, you want to start tearing down, you want to start cussing at someone, or you want to start name calling, or you want to start kind of chopping people off at the knees? How do you handle conflict in your life? How do you handle anger in your life? Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When you have to deal with those situations, ladies, you need to pay attention to how they handle conflict in their life. Gentlemen, you need to pay attention to how she handles conflict in her life. Is she manipulative? Does she take things away? Does she give you the cold shoulder? Does she refuse to want to talk it out? Because that's important. Because sometimes in our nature and sometimes culturally, I know because I grew up in the Hispanic culture, one of the things that we see often is that whenever Hispanic ladies get upset. They tend to give the cold shoulder. That's the way it was growing up in my house. Ladies are like, listen, I'm just saying, pay attention to how you handle conflict. Listen, if you're a person that resists conflict, you're a person that resists kind of talking things through, that's an issue. And you need to work through that. Because if not, what will happen is when you refuse to confront something, you will eventually have to confront it, but in a much bigger way. So you need to learn to confront those things. You need to learn to deal with them, but you need to learn to deal with them in the right way. Let me give you some green lights about this. They are honest and transparent people. They have to be honest and transparent. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 9 says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely. They are a person that they don't hide from things or keep secrets. That trust is built on openness and honesty. Trust is built on openness and honesty. Learn to be honest. Learn to be transparent. Maybe you didn't come from that background. Maybe you weren't raised that way. But I want to encourage you to change the paradigm in your life. Maybe your parents weren't that way. Maybe your parents were people that would hide things from each other. Can I just tell you that you can change that in your life? You don't have to be like that. You can be a different person with the Lord's help and with God's guidance in your life. Here's the fourth thing, the fourth red flag, that they are people that pressure you to compromise your boundaries. They are people that pressure you to compromise your boundaries. 1 Corinthians 6:18 says, flee from sexual immorality. If someone is constantly pushing you to do things that go against your faith, like sex or partying or unethical choices, that's a sign that they don't respect you and your walk with God. Love should honor and not pressure. Couples that refuse, and this kind of makes me kind of laugh, when couples refuse to define their relationship. That couples that say, oh, we're just talking right now. I think that's one of the dumbest things that this generation has come up with. This whole idea of, well, the relationship is not defined, and so we're just going to keep it in the undefined category, or we're just talking right now. The reason why you don't want to define it, or you are in the talking part, is because you don't want the responsibility that comes with relationship. You would just rather have the benefits of relationship without the responsibilities or the consequences of it. And so this is what sometimes people will eventually do. They'll just find themselves in this season of just like, oh, we're just talking, but you'll do all the benefits of it. You'll spend time kissing and doing all the stuff that a dating couple might end up doing, but you refuse to put labels on that. Listen, this is what the relationship is. If you refuse to define it, and you just choose to say, you're just talking right now, but you're doing all the things that maybe a dating couple would do, the reality is that you are emotionally dating someone. You are emotionally dating that person, which is even more unhealthier than sometimes a dating couple that's in a defined relationship. I'm going to tell you why this is so dangerous to you. It's not going to be up on the screens, but I'm going to say this to you, and you can go ahead and just jot this down. This is why it's so important that we understand why emotionally dating is so bad for you. This is where two people deeply are invested in each other's emotions without true commitment. The reason why couples struggle in this is because there's not real commitment in the relationship. And so here's what will come on. I'm going to give you 5 things. Number 1, there's going to be a false sense of commitment. There is a false sense of commitment that comes with emotionally dating someone. You feel deeply connected, but there's no real commitment. And this can lead to heartbreak when one person moves on or isn't as invested into the relationship as you are. That's why, ladies, sometimes you'll experience broken hearts with guys, because guys will sometimes come in, manipulate the relationship. You're emotionally dating them, and then they'll move on to somebody else, and you're left there brokenhearted because you feel like you've given something to them. Here's the other thing, that there is a spiritual and emotional distraction. That you are spiritually and emotionally distracted. Instead of focusing on your personal growth and your walk with God, your emotions become wrapped up in someone who isn't truly yours. And so it becomes detrimental. Here's the third thing, emotional dependency. Relying on someone else for validation, joy, or identity creates an unhealthy attachment, making it harder to function independently. It makes it hard for you to function in life. Here's the other thing, the fourth thing. It clouds your judgment. It clouds your judgment. Strong emotions can make you ignore red flags and justify bad behavior because you're emotionally invested. Your judgment becomes clouded. That when somebody tries to, a sound person, a wise person will sit down with you and say, hey, I don't think this relationship is good for you. You're doing all the things you shouldn't do. You're kissing, you're making out, but you're not in a dating relationship. You're not, there's no future there. And you sometimes refuse to listen to that person because your judgment has become clouded. And God says to you, wake up. Because there's some things that you need to learn and you need to know. Here's the fifth thing. It makes for harder breakups and it causes deeper wounds. The deeper the emotional bond, the more painful the separation becomes. You may feel like you've lost a piece of yourself after the relationship ends. Listen, deep emotional ties without real commitment leads to deep emotional wounds. I'm going to say that again. Deep emotional ties without real commitment leads to deep emotional wounds. Let's wise up. Let's wake up from where we are. Stop emotionally dating somebody. Learn to identify, are you in a relationship or not? Before you enter into a relationship, investigate, learn the person, get to know the person. Now I'm going to wrap things up here in a moment. But here's the fifth thing. Poor communication and lack of respect. Are you guys still with me? Okay. Poor communication and lack of respect. Colossians chapter 4, verse 6, it says, let your conversations be always full of grace. Listen, if the person is rude to you, if the person that you're dating, if the person in your relationship is rude to you, or they're dismissive, or they're always defensive, it will create long-term problems in your relationship. Listen, if a person deals with stuff by saying rude things to you, being mean to you, saying things that cut and jab and hurt. Some of you come from relationships that are like that. Some of you may have grown up in homes that were like that. And you understand what that feels like. You understand what that sounds like. You understand what that looks like. And so these are the things that create bigger problems. Healthy require open, honest, and respectful communication. If you have not sat down and talked things through, tell me, hey, what are you thinking about this? How do you process this? How do you deal with issues like this? It's important that you take time and you get to know that person, interview that person, talk to them, get insight from them. Go to a restaurant and on one of your date nights, just ask questions. Get to know that person. It's not about the feels. It's not about the good vibes. It's not about the whole just gazing into each other's eyes. It's, hey, if this person is potential person that you're going to marry, you need to get to know that person. That's important for you. Communication is important. Listen, let me give you a green light for this. They encourage you to grow in Christ. The person that you're dating should encourage you to be growing in your relationship with Christ. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. That person should be pushing you to grow deeper and closer to God, not away from Him. If that person is luring you away from a relationship with God, get out of that relationship. Don't be in that relationship. That relationship will be hurtful to you. By the way, if that person is manipulative in any way where they are the person that is kind of self-centered and they want the attention all to themselves and they manipulate you, such as when you go to a party or you go to someone's house and they're jealous because you're going off and talking to somebody else and they don't like that and they'd rather you be with them, they will isolate you. You've seen this happen before. You feel like the third person or the third wheel in that relationship. Listen, can I just tell you that that's manipulation? That's unhealthy. That's not a good relationship to be in, and you need to break up. By the way, in the next few weeks, we're going to talk about how you break up biblically in a relationship. And so I want to encourage you to be here for that, because I think some people are going to need to do that. Here's the sixth thing. Here's the sixth red flag, real quickly. And if the worship team would go ahead and come up. If a person has, if they're controlling or they have jealous behavior. If a person is controlling or they have jealous behavior. 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 17 says this, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Love is not possessive or manipulative. I just said this a moment ago. Love is not possessive or manipulative. It will not manipulate you. It will not possess you. It will not isolate you. It will not take you away from people. That person will not take you away from your friends. That person will not take you away from your family. If they constantly are checking your phone and they demand your time or try to isolate you from family or friends, this is a red flag. Ladies, if you have a gentleman that is constantly going through your phone because they don't trust you and you've given them no reason not to trust you, that's a red flag. Gentlemen, same thing. You know, if you've given the person that you're dating no reason to be jealous, but they're constantly asking, where were you last night? What were you doing? Who are you talking to? What's that person's name over there? I saw you kind of staring at that person. Why were you staring that long? Well, it's probably obvious reasons, but if that person is constantly doing that, that's a red flag. There's jealousy that's there, and that's not of God. That's not something that, listen, and I say this to couples all the time in dating relationships, what is minimalized in the dating relationship is magnified in the marriage. Whatever you wink at in the dating relationship where you say, oh, that's not a big deal. It's not that bad. Can I just tell you that when you get married, that's all going to magnify itself? Pay attention to what's going on in the relationship. Here's the last thing, real quickly. Here's a red flag. They avoid accountability and wise counsel. That person avoids accountability and wise counsel. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Listen, if they reject godly advice and don't have spiritual mentors, that's a concern. That's a concern. I have a good friend that his philosophy is that if the next girl he dated, he said, I will not date any girl that doesn't have a mentor in their life. I just won't. He said, I won't date a girl that has a mentor, that doesn't have a mentor in their life. They need somebody speaking into their life, guiding their life. Listen, gentlemen, you need to have high standards. Ladies, you need to have high standards for the person that you are pursuing. If they don't have accountability in their life, that's a red flag. Hey, I'm not going to be interested in you, and there's nothing that's going to happen between me and you until you have mentorship in your life and you submit to accountability in your life. Until then, we're not talking. Ladies, gentlemen, you need to have high standards in your life. Folks, this is so important for us as we move into relationships. Can I just tell you that the whole dating concept is a relatively new concept to us because it's a more of a Western hemisphere philosophy than it is around the world. This is something that we've come up with on our own. This isn't something that God designed. God didn't come up with a dating template. He didn't. There's no such thing as that. But there is such a thing as what we've talked about, what Scripture talks about, and how do we interact with relationships. You see, dating for us is really preparation time. It's for us to understand and for us to get to know the other person. It's about us learning about the other person, them learning about us, and us determining, are they marriage material? Are they people that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with in godly relationship where we are going to raise a family in godliness? Is this that person that I can do this with? If not, listen, walk away. Walk away. There are more people out there. God will give you somebody. Trust the Lord with the relationships in your life. Begin to pray over those relationships in your life. Pray over your future husband. Pray over your future wife. Pray over your future children. Pray. Call on God for that. You say, well, that's silly. Well, wouldn't you rather invest doing that than not doing it? Like, take time to pray for the person. You said, Lord, help me not to see with my natural eyes, but help me to hear with my spiritual ears. When that person is talking to me, help me not to get seduced by their sultry, beautiful voice. Lord, help me not to get entangled in the fact that he smells really good. Listen, he just took a shower for Thursday, and that's it. But listen, it's one of those things where you're just like, God, help me not to get enticed by what culture falls in love with. But Lord, help me to honor you. Help me to do what you want me to do. Help me to love the person that you want me to love. But Lord, I would see them through your eyes. Not through mine, but through yours. God, would you guide me? Would you lead me? Would you help me? God, help me to find a mentor in my life that can speak into my life, that can speak words of hope into my life, and that can advise me and guide me through areas of unknown territory. Listen, God wants to help you. That's why we say this often, that we believe in laying the right foundation for your life so that you can make better decisions in your 20s and you have lesser regrets in your 30s. How many of you guys want lesser regrets in your life? Come on, this is why we talk about stuff like this. Would you stand with me? Guys, the worship team is going to come up, and they're going to lead us in just a couple of worship songs. We're not going to stay long doing this, but we're just in a couple of worship songs. And I just want to encourage you, as they're singing over us, I want you to think about, I know I threw a lot of stuff at you tonight, and I want to encourage you to go back and look through it. I want to encourage you to go back and sit with a group of people and kind of just walk through that yourself with that group and just see what the Lord is saying. But I want you to think about, maybe just even now, as the Holy Spirit is maybe convicting you of certain things in your life, that something maybe I've hit on, something I've highlighted on, that maybe the Lord is convicting you of those things. Can I just tell you that this is a great place to start that process with God? That maybe you can find a spot up here that you just say, God, I'm just here and I just want to talk to you and I just want to do business with you. And Lord, I want to fix, I want to adjust, I want to walk away. Lord, maybe for some of you, you're thinking right now, and man, I probably am in a relationship that I shouldn't be in. And so I need to walk away from this. Maybe some of you right now are in an emotional relationship. It's not even a defined relationship, but you've done things and you are doing things in that relationship that you know you shouldn't be doing. And so right now at this point, you just need to tell God, I need to take a couple of steps back, and I just really need to rethink all this. God, but I'm yours right now. I'm your kid. I'm your child. And Lord, I need your help for this. God, would you help me? If that's you, you just need to find a spot up here. Begin that conversation with the Lord here. Don't leave here without starting a conversation with God about where you are in your relationships with people